Hello, everybody, and welcome to the semifinals Postmortem OpiWrites versus Rov. I'm here with Rov.
Hello everyone, glad to be here.
Yeah, it was a fun match. Lots of interesting games, I think. Very tense one as well. Went all the way down to the wire. So I think it's a good one to break down, and probably not going to do it too like. I don't know exactly how you want to do it, Rav, but I think a more casual, conversational style is good.
Yeah,
For this kind of
I
thing.
think that should work pretty well. I think there are quite a few things that we could talk about in length as well. So a more casual breakdown is probably the best.
Yeah. So first game, we'll maybe go over draft. Actually, might be good. Interesting thing to look at.
Good
Let's
point.
see.
I was a bit surprised at one of the things that happened.
Let's see. Yeah. So I won coin flip. And under SMC rules, whoever picks first in draft also always chooses Spy Sniper. Although I think we both chose the same thing in terms of Spy Sniper order, so it really didn't matter.
Yeah.
So ban Aqua, I think that literally is never anything different.
Yeah, I think there's two competitive matches where I haven't banned Balcony, and they're both against Nebula. So yeah, I just don't not ban Balcony.
Yeah, I just ban Aquarium out of habit. Like, I don't even care if my opponent doesn't like Aquarium. Like, I just don't want to play it. As long as Shark Walking is still like a thing that's gonna warp the meta.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm so unpracticed with Aquarium that it's just not even worth trying. So restrict Veranda, and then restrict High Rise, which is interesting.
I was a little surprised you restricted Veranda, but
Yeah, I'd picked it a couple times, but then I'd just done badly on it. So I was like, I guess if Rob's seen that I've done badly on Veranda, might double it, and that just doesn't seem super comfortable because it seems to go in your favor more often. Because you're generally less likely to give up a spy win on Veranda, I think. And then, of course, double ballroom. The first time it's been left open for me, actually, I think.
Really?
SMC. Yeah, it's been banned.
The entire time? Really?
I'm pretty sure it's been banned every time. No. I had it against Sauerkraut. Sauerkraut didn't ban it.
Okay.
But yeah, Mini Rock and Lazy Bear both banned it. So always fun to have ballroom. When you doubled gallery, that was interesting because I was actually considering restricting gallery. Because I do know that you like it, and it's one of my weaker 4vex. But I figured 4vex is kind of, I'm just okay with that anyway.
Yeah. I think I doubled gallery because it was sort of like, it's just standard. I wouldn't say it's comfy for me, but it's more comfy than most venues. So I was like, well, it makes sense, really.
Yeah, that makes sense. I double pub, which is a venue that I think I usually have a decent advantage on over a lot of players. Although I'm not perfect on it, so it's always a little bit risky. And then the double redwoods is very interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of weird. So I have historically not really liked redwoods, especially like end of last year, start of this year. I was really not liking it, but recently I've just sort of grown into it more, and I just felt like it. It was just I'd done well in it. Recently, I picked against Lady in SCL. I picked it a few times singles in SMC, and I just thought, why not?
Yeah, I've actually gotten more set with redwoods. I used to like it a lot more than I do now. I still think it's my problem with redwoods is that I actually think the mission density doesn't favor me very much on either side. Right? Because a lot of what I think my spy is good at is being able to find these completions that maybe are not obvious, or like, just kind of like getting past the sniper in a way always super expected. But when you have so much mission density on redwoods, it's harder to find those kind of low attention areas because every mission site is so high value That like
Yeah.
it's very, very concentrated attention into some small areas, and I feel like my spy is a lot better with having a more broad spectrum of like high threat, low threat areas that I can play around, which means
Yeah,
that Redwoods has a problem.
it's like a lot of the missions happen at bookcases. Like you have to get partial inspects of bookcases. Michael, obviously, there. Prince often the ambassador goes there, so they're always going to be watched. So
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so I've gotten a little bit more down on the redwoods. Like I used to love it because I could rush it a lot, but snipers have gotten used to that, particularly on redwoods with all the different cheeses and things. So it feels much more difficult for the way I play spy. And honestly, I've always claimed that redwoods is a camping venue, and I still actually believe that to be pretty much true. It's very, very difficult uh, venue to camp because of
Yeah,
all the
no,
things.
especially with 16 guests as well. It was increased from 14 originally to 15, and then to 16 again for
Is
SMC.
it
So
16 for SMC?
I think so,
I,
unless I'm mistaken. I might be mistaken. I'm not sure.
I thought it was just like 14, like natural, but maybe we'll see when we get to the games there. But yeah, redwoods. I just think that I haven't been as strong on sniper in recent months. Like I haven't had my peak, and when I'm not on my peak in terms of camping in particular, redwood just becomes very overwhelming.
Yeah.
So, and then I think pretty standard last couple venues, Modern and Veranda.
Yeah.
Nothing too surprising there. So, now first game on Ballroom playing Salmon. I didn't really choose spies at all this set. I even actually let myself play a Smallman game on Gallery when it was randomed. I would move off Smallman because I just don't like playing Smallman that often. Like I have to do it sometimes, obviously, but it's usually not my favorite. But gotta let the randomness keep Smallman sometimes. So yeah. First game, Salmon. Getting into it here. This game starts off pretty slowly, and it's actually going to be like on my end, it feels like this party is very slow, and I have really bad green test rate this entire set, so like that my foot's going to be a lot slower than normal. I don't know how you saw this party as sniper though.
Yeah, I was quite happy with the start. And there wasn't really much going on. I had just a few flirt pairs, and the ambassador was safe. Just I had sorry center inspects. No, it was a fairly good start for the party for me. But the thing is, like when you have early flirt pairs, you could, like I often feel like I have to watch them a lot more. So sort of delayed flirts like this often aren't caught. So
Yeah.
this is actually, I think that actually could sort of worked out in your favor a little bit.
Yeah, I can see how that would be, because like you're finding those early flirt pairs, but then you kind of fill up on the memory / attention to watch more flirt pairs, especially as more people do things that you need to remember, like books or prints, or now there's drink print. But yeah, this game starts out pretty slowly for me, and because of how slowly it starts out, I'm already at like 250. I need to time that in this game, just because nothing's really happened. Not many AIs have really gotten anything done, and I don't have even a full flirt. So
Yeah. At this point, Sari is my top sus because she took a bug path around the back of the ambassador when he was taking a drink, and it sort of felt like a thing that you would do. It was sort of like a wrong arm that you sort of take out of the conversation. And she was my top sus because she also has statues as well, so I was like watching her a lot. So this time ad was just completely missed.
I actually was trying to time it with like General and his threat on the ambassador.
Yeah.
Because there's just not much else going on, right? Like I need to find something that's gonna give me a time ad window, and that seemed to be one of my better options. I actually was interested in this bug because I didn't take it, but it actually might have been quite good given the angle that you ended up being at. I think part of the reason I didn't take it is actually that there's a bit of laser lag, so you seem to be further left than you actually are in the replay here.
Yeah. Sort of. I can't tell you exactly what I was watching this moment because I wasn't really sure. But like, if I saw the head pop, I might credit it. But I wasn't like watching for it at the time. I was still watching Sorry, really, for the talk
Right.
with Duke.
Yeah, I guess that's one thing is if the party's not that busy and you've actually got a suspect still, you might watch them a lot more than you otherwise would.
Yeah.
So, I could have maybe gotten away with this bug. It just felt like
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
it just felt like it'd be something I'd be watching for. Just the main thing is I actually end up being in a really good spot in my idle for this because it doesn't interrupt. Like my arms are not at my sides or anything, so it wouldn't really be that jerky.
I think Salmon is actually quite underrated for reverse drive-bys because his idle is so like not obvious. Like it's hard to tell that he's idling sometimes. So it's sort of snapped. The bug animation is like barely smooth. So I put him up there with like Duke and Kane as one of the best at the reverse drive-bys for that reason.
Yeah, so having gotten the time ad, now I've got the flirt done, and obviously at this point, still, it's a pretty slow game. I have the double agent. I see that you've highlighted the SDA here in this game.
Yeah,
I assume
mainly
misidentified.
Yeah, because I'm like, where is Sorry going? And she wasn't taking the BB with the real double agent, so I thought that Tap was probably the real double agent. That was my reasoning behind that. That was like pretty convinced he was Sorry at this point.
So yeah, it's pretty much based around like Taft, like Sorry, the assumption that Sorry is the spy.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Okay.
But I'm tunneling too much at this point, which is not really what you want to be doing.
Yeah,
but you know,
it doesn't cost you quite yet. Although this is in retrospect,
it knocks her out.
Yeah, knocking her out.
I was a bit frustrated because I was like, I don't have any other like my camp isn't like I have no idea on Prince because I've been watching her so much, and then the Purloin I wasn't watching this, which is just bad camping. And then my other highlight takes a drink, and I'm like, okay, this is gone, but she has fake, so I'm like,
Yeah, so this Purloin was an interesting one. I knew I needed to get something done, and one of the things about this Purloin that I thought might make it okay is that I know that at the very least Toby has to walk away from me after this happens. Because both Smallman and Queen are at books, Alice just rejected, and everyone else around has a drink. I know Toby has to walk away from me, which I think is why I decided to make this Purloin happen. I also think I was looking maybe at like Duke and his threat on Ambassador, but Ambassador ended up moving before the Purloin happened anyways, so a little bit, wonky there. And then the white test, I thought I was probably like, this game was a little doomed after the white test, but it ended up being okay.
Yeah, what happens after this? So yeah, Oprah talk. Well, in my eyes, Oprah talk, and I was like, okay. I knew that only you two had real, I think, along with maybe one other person, but I knew that Toby had come from there. But because you had a drink, I was like, I was more suspicious of Alice than you. Which is quite funny.
Because I would never white test a Purloin. Surely not.
And that is like I know I'm playing you, and you're gonna green most things. So I'm like, well.
I think it actually is my first white test Purloin of SMC. In fairness.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course, it happens in this game.
I think it is the only time I've ever white tested Purloin in SMC. I'm actually usually, even in sets where I'm having a rough time on green tests, usually Purloins I'm quite good at hitting. So then Ambassador comes near me, and I'm like, oh well, I gotta do something. 50 seconds left, and kind of just gotta put it to Rov here and make him shoot a bug, right?
Yeah.
It ends up being a lot better than I thought it would be because Ambassador walks with me, which I think Ambassador does walk. So Ambassador walking with me here is pretty big, I think, because it makes it so much more difficult to see like the fact that my arm swing isn't there for the wrong one.
Yeah.
General and Queen help with that a lot as well when you rotate slightly to the right here. Because if you didn't rotate to the right, I think you might see this.
Probably. I might, yeah.
Yeah, if you rotate, if you don't rotate to the right a little bit there, that's a bit more visible, and might get shot for it.
Yeah, it's a good bug, especially like for a walking bug this time. That's it's pretty ideal, really. And a bit of a ghost game. Like I didn't suspect you for the Purloin, and the bug is good. So yeah, pretty good game.
You know, I think that I got a little bit lucky with how the attention was being, like, because I think sometimes I just die right for the white Purloin. Obviously, there are some games like that, but of course, as Spy, there's always some chance you're just gonna die for something. So gotta just try to do the best you can.
It's always fairly hard to know exactly what the sniper is thinking. Like if Sari isn't the suspect, then I've got, you know, I can use my attention in other places of the party, and I might catch the Purloin. So
right, yeah. I didn't know that Sari had like such like high suspicion. Right, I knew she had center inspects, but usually I'm not one to typically go to center inspects early in a game, right? So I thought, you know, probably a threat, but not really a big suspect. But if she's like being given bug credit or, you know, bug suspicion at the very least, that's gonna change things a lot.
Yeah.
So got a little bit lucky with the Sari tunnel, I think there, but didn't do too badly on executing those missions. And I think the decision on the time ad is really what made that game, in terms of like decision making overall, is just finding like understanding, like, you know, at 2:15 that I need to do a time ad, is probably one of the subtler ways that I win this game. So
I mean, if you don't time out there, then that Purloin happens at like what, 45 seconds left-ish, and I'm going to be watching Purloin much more closely, close to the end of the game. So yeah, it's a good choice.
All right, so next one is gonna be Rov on wheels here, and it's gonna. I'm not gonna count in because this isn't a cast.
Yeah, I can see it. It's all good, yeah. I mean, I remember what happened in this game.
So you start here flirting, which is good.
Yeah.
We always like to, we always like to get some early 51% flirts.
Yeah, I didn't really have any sort of plan going into this. I was sort of, you know, seeing what the party gives me. I was, usually, I feel like you camp more on ballroom than most venues. So if there's someone that is going to be, who has like mission credits, I want to make sure that I'm either finishing with them or I'm framing them, really. So
right. Yeah.
I was thinking anyway.
One of the things to note here is I do have this print on the drink. So I do have you for this print. And this isn't a dead party. It's an interesting one because it's kind of very spread out, and the ambassador's not in too much danger. So it's kind of a lot of things that I can just mark off and like say, okay, there's this, you know, rocker wheels have prints, a couple people have side inspects, there's been people at books. And because ambassador's not in too much danger, and there haven't been any really big bug suspects, it becomes, despite the fact that it's it's not like super busy, but it's, you know, it's medium busy. It's actually not that hard of a party to handle. So.
Nice two-flirt. I've been hitting my two-flirts a lot recently, which is, I should really make more of them, but
yeah, two-flirt's gonna be really strong for like quicker games. We'll see that on gallery later, because I do believe you hit a two-flirt there to rush that one.
Yeah, it wasn't a two-flirt, but it was like the SD came to me like straight after, and I was like, okay, I basically have like most of my flirt done already, so. Fair. It's a decent BB. I don't like BBing super early, but if it's a good one, then you're gonna have to really take it. So I take the BB. This is a
pretty good contact. I think it ends up actually being. I think these contacts end up being a little worse than they look, almost. Because like, and the reason isn't because there's a lot of low lights, because there's only like 3 low lights, right? If you include like, you know, it's 3 low lights, and I don't even get sorry, but I do highlight. So I only get 2 low lights, but I do highlight everyone that was in for real, which can be very, very strong. I think contacts on ballroom are at their best when it's like 2 big conversations, because you're very likely to just have pretty much everyone have real, and that makes things a lot more confusing.
It's more likely that the SCA is in a big combo as well. Like, so in this situation, I have no idea if the SCA, if like who else has real, because there are so many small conversations. So
Right, exactly.
and I also didn't pick up on the fact that you highlight for real, which is not good for me, because I just assumed you might have just no actual real credits. So
yeah.
my point of view, I should really pick up on that better.
Yeah, I think it's not impossible to pick up on it. It's not the most like obvious if we're looking at the laser movements from your angle. From your angle, it's not the most obvious, but it definitely is something that you could notice, and that would, I think, change your gameplay going forward. What's the camera shake for here? Actually, I thought that was for like noticing that I was highlighting for real.
No, the camera shake was because the ambassador wasn't doing anything, and I had a print, and I wanted to finish early, and I was like, oh, well, this is I can't do anything really. If like I could force him out, but it's just too proactive and too obvious that I'm trying to get that print, and it's what I don't like about prints is it's so heavily reliant on what the ambassador does. So if you're trying to finish early with prints, you can't guarantee it because you don't know what the ambassador's going to do. So
yeah,
I was a bit frustrated about that because I got the 2 float and the BB with like what 1 minute 40 left, and
I think
if there's a printable statue, I can go print and swap or purloin into print and force it to shoot at 130. So
I think that actually, in regards to that, it's not too aggressive to go make the ambassador move as long as you don't directly chase the print that's like on the briefcase under his feet, basically.
Yeah. That's fair.
If you're like at 2 minutes and you need the ambassador to move, I think it's totally fine to just go up to him and like make him move. And like as long as you're not like, because it's kind of like red threading your ST. If you think they're really suspicious, it's not that you're getting directly out of it. It's like, but you're making them move and you're making activity happen in the party, which can be beneficial to you in some way. So ambassador moving would be beneficial. This is also something I like to do sometimes. Is if I know a delegate purloin is never going to go off, I still send it just to have another person moving around the party.
Yeah, good point.
So if you do it earlier, I think it's possible that you can force the ambassador to put down another print somewhere. I actually kind of like this play, by the way, to go for the swap. It's kind of cute.
I wanted to green it and then not have to cheese it, because if I green it, I can sort of force the amber and get the print as the swap goes off. Maybe that was the sort of thought behind it. But if I did wipes out, I was gonna try and cheese it because Amber and Toby are on the right hand side.
On the other side of the venue, yeah. I think that if there was just a little bit more activity, like directly threatening the ambassador for bugs, it would work a lot better. Like, because right now the ambassador is just kind of over there, but not in much danger, and the only person who's actually providing danger, briefly, is Rocker, who is already low light. So I actually like the idea behind this play a lot. I just think that the ambassador isn't quite in enough danger for it to work out.
Also would help if I'm not highlight as well for real, which I didn't think I was. So,
it does make a big difference. I think I'm not sure about Wheels as a character to do this with.
Yeah, that's also true. He's quite
he's a little bulky,
big and noticeable,
right? Yeah, little bulky. Because the way you're trying to use the cover here is you're trying to use like Kane Bund, excuse me. Kane Bund in this pillar as cover, and when you're trying to use cover like that, it's a lot of very thin cover. I think like someone like Teal would be a lot more suited, or like Teal, Duke, even though Duke is tall, because you're not actually worried about being tall as much with this sort of cover. I feel like it's more the bulk. That's the issue. But yeah, I do like the idea of this play, but I do catch it and shoot it. I actually have gotten a new fun way of memorizing statues. I noticed during my practice that I was sometimes just like forgetting statues, and I was like, that seems like a fundamental issue to my game that no one's abusing, because why would you think a top player forgets the actual statues?
That's funny, because Legore played into that. He noticed that I actually missed swaps early quite a lot, and he did it twice against me, and it worked both times. So,
I almost thought about playing into that, was like seeing, but like the thing is when something that stark is like revealed to you during a set,
Yeah.
against someone else, I feel like you're gonna adjust at least a little bit. So I don't think I really played into it as much as I might have been able to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was very funny to watch Legorv do that. I was like, oh,
I know.
just two early swaps.
It's funny because like the first one on Ballroom, I literally didn't check statues once. After memorizing the first time, I didn't even realize he swapped. So I'm like, there's definitely no one done it. And I was like, someone swapped. And I watched it back. I was like, Jesus, that's just terrible camping. I really should like at least know that someone swapped.
It's interesting, like what you kind of don't realize you get lazy on when people don't try to abuse it, because it's like one of those things that when you're first starting to play, people will do that because they don't know better, and then you'll catch it, and you'll get used to catching it, and then people will stop doing it because they're catching it, and then it becomes just a thing that nobody does because it's just accepted and assumed that you're not gonna mess it up, but then you stop watching it as much.
Yeah, it's almost a thing at like the like top level is that you sort of expect certain plays, but plays that would normally be terrible are actually really good because you're just not watching for it at all. So
yeah. So my new way of memorizing statues is I actually take the numbers that each statue, like the statue sets represent, and I'll add them together. So in this game, it was 121 plus 133, and I don't even remember the final number. I don't have to remember the final number. It's just like the process of taking that mental space out to add them together kind of just burns them in my mind. So it's actually been very, very helpful to find that little way to remember statues better.
That's quite nice. Yeah, I like that.
All right, game number 3 on Ballroom.
Not this game.
This game, this game is interesting because it uses a strat that I kind of like quite frequently. We're gonna go right into it. It's because the strat that I like quite frequently is right in the early stages of this Ballroom game. Is I'm at this blue book and I'm gonna just go for microfilm immediately. There's quite a lot of cover from other people as well, although it's not really that much. But the main thing is that I just want to get out of blue with the microphone in pocket as quickly as possible, just to like try to not be remembered at blue in the first place, right?
Yeah, and you go straight into green. This is hilarious, by the way. So, okay, no, so I I'm top sus of the other twin right now because of what's happened with. So he went into conversation and next to Wheels and talked, and then talked immediately. I was like, that is so OP like. And then he left immediately. Okay, I was like, yes, he's definitely that twin. But I'm just gonna watch. So I was like watching that twin, but you both go to green.
Yeah.
And then so you do the microfilm here,
and he's got a book out in front too.
And then
he's reading.
And then that twin, and then you go back to green with that book, and I think that's the other twin. So I've completely mixed up the twins this game. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you have sus from what the other twin did.
Nice. That is that's pretty funny. But I am pretty happy with this microphone because I'm pretty sure I'm not remembered at blue. At this point.
You weren't at all. Yeah. I just know that both twins have been at green, so I have no macro credit here at all.
So finally hit a green test in this game. That's like went 3 whites in a row and then finally hit a green test. And I'm like, yes, finally, thank you. It was so weird because I told you after the set, but I got a 28 green streak in practice before this set, and then during the set I just completely bombed all of my greens.
Yeah, fucking 28 is too much. if you hit 28 in a row in your actual spy matches, then
I know I had a set versus Scout where I hit all greens. It was like 20 or something in a row.
Jesus.
Might have been 19.
I feel bad for you, Scout.
But yeah, so at this point, I take a drink, and I decide to just go to contacts, and I do feel like, with
banana bread,
with this game state that I'm in, I actually think that this is a pretty good party texture for a Purloin at some point, but doesn't seem necessary. Just the way that the party clumps like this can make Purloin a lot harder to track. In my experience, so. But instead, we're just gonna finish up Flirt and when General goes to side statues, it's just like, okay, this is the opportunity to go and, you know, just finish with thinner inspects and flirt and at 115, and that's never bad, especially if you've got a clean microphone.
Yeah, and I really hated it, but what made me hold here, because I was like, you would finish here with center, but you haven't taught with
With
wheels
wheels
yet.
at all again.
And I'm like, you're not done with flirt because you're flirting with wheels. So even though you're like #1 sus here, and I'm pretty sure you haven't bugged. I really wanted to shoot,
And then I
and then you
blink.
blinked, and I was like, okay, I'll wait for you to at least talk with wheels again, and then the game ends, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's you know, I do in my head try to like just every time I see something I always go bling or plane and I'll like check with my laser. Actually, you can see that a lot in my plays when I'm looking at some twin. I'll hover over at least one of the twins. Like even if like it's a bling twin at statues, if I think it's too annoying to go hover over bling twin, I'll be like, all right, where's plain twin? Let me hover over him and then figure out through process of elimination which one's actually at statues. I do that quite frequently, and I think that does help distinguish a little bit. But of course, you can always get mixed up with the twins. It happens because they just look so similar, and visual memory is such a huge thing.
I would have felt a bit bad about winning that on second watch because all your sus came from the other twin, which is, unlucky.
You know, you can get lucky on Spy, you can get lucky on Sniper. There's a good, healthy set of randomness in the game, and you know, to some degree, I also won because my suspicion was transferred from the other twin, right? Because like you thought I had to flirt with wheels, and I hadn't done that.
That is a fair point.
So, managed to get 2 spy wins on Ballroom, which I'm really happy with. Obviously, at this point in this, because Rov's sniper is scary as hell.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not nice going down 3-0 at the start, but it's a long set. So
Long
you can't
sets,
exactly give up.
for sure. And then this game, as Kane here, this one was one of the slower games from the timeout games, I believe.
Yeah, it is worth probably talking about though, because there was quite a lot of what I wanted to go on trying to happen and sort of framing things in it. So it's definitely worth talking through my thought process over why I was not doing anything essentially. But just to start off with, the SC is being active, and I wasn't fancy doing a rush, so I just thought I'd idle for a bit.
Oh, the ambassador in this game, I believe, if I recall, is just sitting in the worst spot in the venue for a million years. I actually think if he would purloined there,
really,
it might have been. I'm not 100% sure because I don't recall exactly if I was on top of that purloin, but the fact that the ambassador's over there and people are walking in the area just draws so much attention. So there's a non-zero chance to get away with that purloin, but it's probably not the best purloin, but I think it's a possible one just because of where the ambassador is sitting.
Yeah, I was going in for flirt. You get that going with, I've basically burned a minute, so I need to get on with it really. I was sort of looking out for who else was being suspicious. Thought I'd take the time out because it's I wanted the flirt. I need some more time really. So
yeah, I think that's a good decision from where you are in the game, especially like if you're like aware of like the ambassador having been in a really terrible spot, right? Also, just a bunch of people that could have been doing things, and he goes back to this spot, like, ugh.
Yeah, this is the sort of the pertinent point of the game. Was sorry, I wasn't sure if you had full credit there, but she rejects in a second. I was like, I need to keep her in, or at least make her suspicious. So
I think
she rejects, and
I think I didn't have bug on this particular instance because if we watch it, the way she paths. Like, she gets her, she returns the briefcase, and she does this little path and then back around.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe I wouldn't have seen that if she triggered it right as she leaves my field of vision there. It's really hard to say, but I wasn't like hard crediting or anything.
Okay. On second watch, it doesn't look like it, but in the moment, I was like, okay.
Oh yeah,
Sorry,
no.
is my frame target in this.
I mean, I think that was smart because like, there was a like I did have to think about whether or not Sorry had bug, especially just standing next to the ambassador here, because I'm not 100% sure based on my angle if she's in range for like a standing bug.
Yeah.
And if she is, then I'm in a lot of danger here after this purloin comes off. And I didn't see this fade because I wasn't watching for it. One thing that I did think about was I had this purloin pretty well locked down as far as a chain went. I believe it was like Duke Taft, Sorry You. And one thing that I was thinking about was like, Rov does not like to be like the first person in a chain, just if it's just a random purloin at some point in the game. I felt like a lot more likely to be someone later in the chain. The thing is, though, Sorry is like the third person in the chain, so it still works.
Yeah, it's a good assumption because usually I don't. So yeah, but it's just sort of like I felt these lights. I was like, I definitely got the pearl, which I thought was good because like you probably have Sorry in the chain as well. So
yeah,
I sort of need Sorry to go in that or in my combo and give a BB because then it really puts. It really asks you a question.
Yeah, for
really.
sure.
So, yeah.
Do I shoot Sorry for potential bug and BB finish?
Yeah.
And that would be a big question. I think that it ends up not coming to fruition though. She just doesn't join a conversation, I believe.
Yeah, she just she basically trolls me by walking right past the DA conversation in a minute, which I thought was quite funny. But she also does have 2 briefcases. I'm not sure if one of them was dead.
I believe her first one was empty.
Was dead. Okay, cool. Okay. But yeah, she just walks by. And I was like, yes, go in. And then she doesn't. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then basically the rest of the game was sort of waiting for her to do something, and then she eventually joined a combo with no SDA in at the end, and I just BB'd and just hoped there was an SDA in there, and there wasn't. So
yeah,
in the end it was a pretty good hold.
Yeah, I got fortunate that Sorry that I never had to like answer that question of whether or not I was going to shoot Sorry for bug potential, because I think that there is definitely a non-zero chance that I do. But yeah, like once this contact comes off, I'm not worried about shooting anyone anymore because none of you sure there are still technically other people who have reels. You, Oprah, or was Oprah even in the chain? I think I didn't low light everyone I could have. I don't think she was in, but I just wanted to give a little bit of uncertainty just in case I was off on the chain. But at this point, Duke is the only consideration for a shot, and he's not even really one.
Yeah.
General actually does this little weird path, and I'm like, if it goes to overtime, I'll shoot General because of this path and the potential for a bug. And he did have Real just now, even though I don't have him in for. Like, look at this. It's actually such a beautiful bug path.
It looks like a wrong arm as well. So.
Yeah, it looks like a perfect wrong arm bug path. I think if that had actually been a bug, I'd see the very end of the bug animation, but I wasn't certain about that during the game.
Yeah.
So, go for this bug, and I do see it, and then so you kind of become my overtime shot, but no overtime, as the contact was not real.
Pretty easy. Yeah. Yeah, good hold.
Yeah, not bad. So 4-0 through
that?
ballroom
That's
was not
4-0, yeah.
Not expected, but I was happy with it obviously.
Yeah.
Can't make so let's see. This game is Wheels.
This is such a weird game, by the way, because I had to read that you play Wheels this game.
Interesting.
And
yeah.
Just because I sort of know you like Wheels on this venue, and
this was random, but I do like Wheels in this venue. You're right.
Yeah, and I know you played Wheels against me in some other tournament. I think it might be in Summer Cup last year on Gallery, and I thought this is the sort of game you want to push your lead. So I was like, okay, you might be playing Wheels. I missed pretty much everything though. So even though I was like, you're probably playing Wheels, I still miss. I missed the cheese split. I missed this sort of behaviorally that's terrible, really.
Yeah.
But I completely missed it.
bugging here, but I think
Yeah.
I think I just die because Wheels' bug is way too just a little too obvious, and the ambassador bounces.
Yeah.
In the end.
It's so risky always, like taking a Wheels walking ball is just it's sort of a question. I don't know. Never really want to.
Yeah, but like if I had taken a bug there, I'd have bounced all over the place and just died. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is an interesting bug because it's not a bug that I feel like I usually take, but one of the things that I was considering is that I have shown, especially in recent competitive sets, that I'm doing a lot of like book cheeses in the back while the ambassador's out front, right?
Yeah.
And I think even I guess actually against Sauerkraut, I got punished for that because Sauerkraut was far more attentive to the back books in a game where I tried to do that. So I wanted to. So when I got this opportunity, I was like, this might not be the best bug in the world, but I need to like create the threat of having bugs outside such that my microphone cheeses in the back can continue to work in the future. And I actually think it ends up being a pretty decent bug. But you do catch it as far I assume, given the shot later.
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't catch it. Mainly because, you know, like with most standing bugs, you sort of want to be looking at people who are next to the ambassador, and I just didn't. I didn't see it. What I didn't like was you leaving so quickly. It felt like a flirt.
Okay, interesting.
That's what I took from that. I got some okay, but
yeah, I wanted to finish this game with like a
highlights.
silent game and swap, right? Inspect swap. I didn't want to go statue to statue because I felt like you would hate me for that, especially if you had sufficient for the bug.
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense. But what I caught that statue animation break.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is mainly the reason for the shot, really.
Yeah, that was not the most fun thing in the world.
I just happened to be at the time I was highlighting for statues, so it wasn't like I was intentionally watching for those things. I just happened to see it. I was like, okay, I think it's Wheels.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Statue animation breaks. It wasn't that noticeable, I think, but like if you were like not watching me specifically for the highlight,
yeah.
But it is definitely. I don't even think I realized that I had broke statue animation in that moment because I might have been looking at the back or something, which might be the cause of that one.
Super fortuitous that I saw that, really, because I didn't see the bug, or had you flirt paired. You just been active, so
right.
That was all.
I gotcha. So so it ends up being the statue animation break, which is fair. You know, it's one of those things where it's like a small mistake costs you the game, and that's just so true of all games, really. It can be anyway.
It's one of the reasons I just don't like playing Nebula a lot, because I feel like I have such a smooth game, and then I die for something that it's just so minor. I don't even know why. Come on.
Yeah.
I have like two difficult prints, but I die for a statue path. Okay, great. Sure.
Yeah. That can be tough for sure. So this is a nice shot. I actually, if like during game, I felt like you hadn't seen the bug, which I guess was true. Because I feel like usually if you know you saw the bug for sure, you just shoot
for it.
Yeah.
But
when you shot me here, I was like, okay, you know, must have had some suspicion. I went two statues pretty quickly, and I wasn't too concerned about getting shot here. I was like, okay, you know, can't win every spy game against Rob Sniper. And of course, I'm still in a pretty significantly good spot here in the set. So then we have this game for you on Taft.
Yeah. This is a bit of an annoying game because I didn't pick my ST, but I certainly would not have picked Pearls because she is like the worst ST to have in your Taft, probably.
She's pretty. She's very slow, and it's not great.
She is.
So early flirt, and I have been experimenting some with highlighting early flirt pairs because I don't often use highlights early on in games. I don't do it every game, but obviously in this game it could have been a big boon.
Yeah.
But don't end up doing it here. And then a lot of people had statues this game, which is one of the things that was very difficult as sniper. Like, a lot of people had statues and early prints and things like that. So.
Which is rough, yeah, especially for you because you don't highlight statues, so you have to, like, all these extra statue goers are just more load on your memory.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, which is hard.
Which is one of the things that I've been identifying as actually a weakness of mine compared to when I'm playing at my peak. When I'm playing at my peak sniper, I don't really have issues with that memory thing, with like just remembering all those things. But one of the big things that can drop off is just like, oh, I don't remember who was at this statue at all. I know there was someone, but so that's one of the things I've been working on a lot in the lead up to SMC.
Been paying off so far.
Yeah. My shots have felt a lot more decisive, you know, when you know your information is correct in your head.
Yeah.
So watching for the bug. Yeah. No bug, which is smart because, you know, it's not really the best bug.
Yeah, no, that's but I guess Taft it might not be that bad because Taft's sort of like his arm is always so straight. It doesn't really like, you know, it's not obvious.
Right.
Just like a little quick redirect to get in position for the two play, which I miss, which is a bit unfortunate.
I think both of us are a little sad of our green rate this, at least in terms of flirts this set.
Yeah. I feel like if you do flirt, it just opens so many sort of
Opportunities.
avenues for finishing early, which is what you want to be doing. Like if you're not finishing early in games, it makes it much less likely you're going to get a mission win. But like if you're finishing late, you might force a sip shot, but I don't know.
Yeah, and so a bunch of people just continue to go statues, so there's just like so many people. I don't know why. I think I had Queen like half credited for a bug in the early game, which is why she's highlight.
Okay.
You finish flirt here. It's down to 140 on the clock.
I was planning on doing Prince's game, but then I just kept, I don't know, the Amber took the book out, and I was like, okay, this is what I should really work on, is like having a more obvious plan B when my sort of initial plan sort of falls through.
Right. I think that's definitely one of the things that your spy does struggle with. I also think sometimes you might struggle with finding some of the less obvious like hardtail moments, especially with words to like Purloin.
Yeah.
I think a lot of, I think that's true for a lot of SMC spies though, because of how slow, like a lot of why I can be finishing as quickly as I can in a lot of games does revolve occasionally around Purloin and finding Purloin spots that are not entirely obvious. And I think that's one of actually the bigger strengths of my spy.
Yeah,
is just finding these non-obvious spots. I think so. It's pretty useful to, but I think gallery is kind of tough as well though, in particular, just because of the way the venue is laid out. When you have, you know, the bug opportunities and Purloin opportunities are so condensed into like one or two areas. Like you're not often going to be getting a bug opportunity out in the middle ground of gallery, right? Like sometimes you can get a reverse drive-by if you have a character for it, but it's just so rare.
Yeah, it's a weird venue in that most of the cover comes either at the front or the back, and yeah, if you don't have partial progress by this point, then it's sort of, and the DA isn't being kind to you, then it's sort of like, I don't know what.
Yeah. And
sort of have to like hope a Purloin works or sort of force something through, which is not like, it's not how I want to play spy. I want to be making decisions based on, you know, more optimal choices rather than just hoping a Purloin works. So
yeah, so here I do have you for print, and you do try. So I'm gonna skip to you going back and trying to microfilm this, and I think that it is pretty much your only option here. But one thing I want to point out is, when the book you're getting has a print on it, you should probably be transferring it a lot less in general. Just because it's much more likely that your opponent remembers and recognizes that the book is going in the wrong bookshelf. But I think like with 31 seconds left, this is really your only option. You've got to like microfilm purloin contact to finish this game. Is kind of the key.
It's such an awkward finish. I mean, it's sort of my fault for not getting soft or progress earlier in the game because I've sort of forced myself into this position where if I don't hit that difficult print, then I'm just like I'm having to do like 3 hardtails or 2 hardtails plus BB at the end. So, Jesus, asking for a bullet when playing you. So.
Yeah, it can be the gallery's tough sometimes. I definitely have more trouble on Gallery Spy than on some other 4x. I think it's, shows up pretty clearly in stats as well. Gallery's I believe the most sniper favored 4x. So it's difficult.
And I don't know if you can include Courtyard now, and that probably, but yeah, no, it's
Courtyard actually on 4x is still less sniper favored than Gallery in terms of like all the full population of players. Anyway, I don't know what it is like at top level.
I'm still a Courtyard 407 stan, so I'll definitely agree with you there.
I haven't minded Courtyard 407 when you add extra guests in. I still think it's one of the more boring venues for me, just because it's the statues on Courtyard are as strong as statues on Gallery are weak. So
yeah, no, yeah, I sort of. The thing is with 3.7 is it doesn't really change much of how you play. Like statues are always going to be so important regardless of
and I think that's just a fundamental design problem with Courtyard is.
Yeah,
statues are just way too good, comparatively. So here I'm playing a Smallman game, and I don't usually, as I mentioned earlier, I don't usually like playing Smallman, but got to sometimes, I guess. And it was the random choice. And I almost switched off of it, but I was like, fine, I'll play a Smallman.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not that I have made sure to notice that you don't play small much, but I wasn't like hyper focused on small like it would be if I was playing like Screw or someone who like basically dances the small in every game on Gallery. So
yeah, some people.
So I'm not like watching small all the time here. So yeah, it's fine.
I mean, I was definitely planning on a dance this game.
You were.
I was.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I feel like you don't dance a lot, but okay. Which is why it probably would work. So fair enough.
Yeah. So I was just trying to be like non-suspicious Smallman, not doing anything crazy.
Yeah, the party is not bad. It's just sort of, pretty standard Gallery party. It wasn't like super hard to track everything. It wasn't like I was able to get pretty good etiquette low lights because it wasn't like that active. So it was okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I had like anyone as like a top sus.
One of the things I've been thinking about trying to implement in my gameplay is to have behavioral low lights. And when I do play behaviorally, like in practice, I am very strong about like not relaying the spy and the loading AIs. Like I usually have a very good record with that kind of thing. It's actually an early stop, by the way.
Yeah, I noticed that, and I didn't like see it. But I sort of like caught it out of the corner of my eye. I didn't like assign much source for it, but it made me remember the print a lot more.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I was trying to time it based off of the ambassador's patience meter, and I just got it wrong a little bit.
Yeah, which is like it's a nice way to look AI if you get it right as well. It's a nice idea.
Problem is
130.
The game ends up being a little too slow when I'm doing for print like this. So I go for this contact and then so do I get this contact actually?
You time out first,
yeah. I go for time out, that's right. Because I do have very little time and I think that's fine. I don't know if you catch this or not, you do zoom out. But...
I sort of catch it. I'm like, it was probably your rocker, but I hadn't checked the time for a bit, so I was like, it's probably someone out front. So some of the low lights for timer, some of them up at BB. And I noticed that it's probably someone in the bottom combo at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I wasn't super happy with this game. At this point, I'm like, okay, well, this kind of sucks. I feel like I'm pretty behind, and so my game plan here was I walk over here and I look back and I see the ambassadors putting a print on that statue. So I was thinking, okay, here's the goal. The goal is to take the print, swap the green swap, and then dance as the green swap goes off.
Oh, I quite like that actually.
Yeah, and I was like, this maybe this can recover the game because maybe I don't get immediately shot for the print. I mean, obviously one of the bigger issues with this is that you know, it's a little chasey on the print because it's very recent and like the briefcase is right there, and I think I have like a weird path into it or something because of how the briefcase is.
Yeah, the path is a bit awkward, but I didn't think it was like that bad. It was just a quick pickup, which is
okay.
what I didn't like a lot about it. And also, no, it's you're finishing prints and no one else is really doing much.
I don't think that was terribly.
Like,
I don't know. That's on the edge. I think that's not too quick, but
yeah, I mean it might be, but like from what I saw, it just felt quick.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like you already got like, you know, this is a print, this is Smallman. I saw some like there were saw time ad kind of thing. So like it's a totally reasonable shot. I was just at this point hoping, and I do hit the green swap here, which would have been an interesting. Like if I don't get shot immediately, it'd be very interesting to see if I can get to the back and somehow not die.
That would be funny.
The conversation in the back isn't terribly thick though right now, so I think it's possible. It's more than likely that you do shoot me, but maybe if I get behind like the Kane, Rocker, Duke, Teal clump and stay there, it might be really difficult. So
it's possible.
It was my idea to finish and try to win that, but losing made a lot of sense. I didn't feel like that was a very good game. And you did catch a couple of etiquette things, time ad, so it works out. And this next game is a really good one. Although I will say the early party was crazy. I want you to watch the from the sniper view because this is. So let's just slow it down. We're gonna go 1/2 speed. So we have General Taft. Kane has a drink, so he's fine, I think. Oh no, I credit Kane as well. I'm just watching like everyone get credit, like Queen, General, Taft, Queen, Kane. I got to credit like 4 bugs immediately.
That is yikes.
And it's
pretty
like
horrible
all of these are very real bugs, right? Like, you know, obviously they can't have all bugged, but all of them were very reasonable to have bugged, and so I'm just like, shit.
I think if there isn't, or there aren't many top players who aren't going to take that bug if they realize how much cover they have there. So.
Yeah. I think that, you know, the odds of that bug being taken are lower than like automatic in that scenario. Yeah. So even when I'm crediting these bugs, the amount of I have should not be that high, just because it's so difficult to realize you have that cover when you're doing in time of chaos like that, because it feels like it's such an obvious bug, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we have like a couple people at statues, a bunch of people.
I got super lucky with my ST who
came to you.
You joined me twice at the start of the game, which is quite funny.
Yeah.
So I joined here, and I considered taking the BB, but I was like, it's just so early to give that many low lights.
Yeah, it would have been really good for me if you'd taken the BB. Just so many low lights, especially on people that I had highlights for. It would have made the party a lot more manageable.
Yeah, and also you put your laser on me, and I thought I might have been highlighted for blur, and I was like, oh god. I wasn't sure what to think about it. I was like, well, I'm probably either highlight or low lit. I definitely did not think I was neutral lit.
Yeah, in this game I started taking some low lights for pathing because I just feel so overwhelmed by the early party here. And like Alice is a weird thing, and I'm going back out, and then you actually take this purloin right like at a moment where the offer is kind of covered by the ambassador, and I've actually just zoomed out to look briefly at the outside conversation. So
That's
this purloin's really well timed in the sniper tempo, and then you have this fun rush because you have the flirt down. This is a nice one.
I wasn't aware of how bad the party was in this game, but like it just felt like a good game to rush, and it's also like I hadn't rushed yet in the game, so it like this was basically my rush game, at least so far.
This is also a well-timed like green swap here.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few people at statues, and two, of course, it's at the same time I'm dealing with the purloin, so I actually end up just forgetting that like who it was that was at that statue, because I knew there was someone, right? I see the green swap fade from pearls in a moment, but I just could not remember who had just been there because of all the things happening at once. There were some people at statues, and then the purloin coming off at the same time. You can see I'm frustrated because I'm like, I know this isn't pearls, but who was there? And then the game ends, and it was a really nice rush.
Yeah, thanks. I tried to block the fade there as well with Irish, but she already swapped. I was like, oh god, maybe I'm dead here. But yeah, no, I was definitely happy with that game. And I was just happy to get on the board, despite, to be honest, because like the early game hadn't gone too well with boredom and whatnot, so it just felt like it got a bit more momentum in the game now. So I was happy with that.
So pub games are fun. I think that this one's just like, do you cast the time out or the red flirt?
This game, like, so obviously, if you're like, there isn't a sniper in SpyParty who can see everything at once when sniping, but in this game, I just happen to see like most of the person actions that you did, if that makes sense. So I had you paired with Irish at Windows, and I had a bunch of other pairs as well, and then I didn't, so just camping at this point, and then you do time it at one point. I don't like catch the timeout per se, but I knew you were at Windows like fairly recently, so I was like, I sort of gave you sus for the
for the timeout.
Sus for the timeout, and you also join with Irish after the timeout, I think. So I was like, okay, flirting with Irish.
Right.
Because I wasn't sure who joined who at Windows at the start of the game, so I was like, I'll just they're both together.
Yeah,
140. Cool.
This it's kind of weird because I had some ideas of like this red flirt really hurt things. It's like, oh shit, well now I'm like way behind because I can't get back to Irish. It's really awkward, and that might have been noticed. So it ends up being a bit of an awkward game for me.
Red flirts on pub are just like,
it's really tough because like
I don't know how you finish with if you red flirt, because you just have to get flirt as much as possible.
Yeah.
And if you red flirt, then you have to go and chase again. It's just
it's awkward. It's pretty brutal, like, even with the time ad. And then I go back to, so I guess it's kind of just a shot for flirt in the end because I go back to her the third time.
Yeah, I'm like very trusted of you here. So I'm just basically, again, I'm pretty much tunneled at this point. Yeah, and then
I think you just shoot me.
I just shoot you.
Oh right, I also left too late on the bar.
Yeah, that was like, so like, okay, that was sort of the final straw really. So it wasn't like a bad game. Like it wasn't like, other than the red flirt, you didn't really do much wrong. I just happened to catch the things you did.
Yeah, I mean that happens sometimes. And the main thing about this game for me is that like it felt like a little aimless from the spy. Like I just got some flirt and then got shot for an etiquette thing.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I had a cohesive plan coming together for this game, which is not always the best. So that I did feel bad during the game, and then when I got shot, I was, it wasn't really. I was like, okay, I probably wasn't gonna win this game anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I saw the thing on pop though. It's kind of hard to really have a cohesive plan because it's just so chaotic in a way. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like it because there's a lot of flexibility in like the mission setup, like the missions you can complete and still win.
Yeah.
because, you know, inspects are one visit, but because you only have 3 missions, swap's actually surprisingly viable. Purloin's obviously viable. Prints are definitely a thing you can do, although those do tend to be a little more difficult. I think prints are a little bit weaker on pub. So.
Yeah, and it's just, there's like what? There's just one less source of prints, because like you got drink, you've got briefcase, you've got statues, and you got books, but there were no books. So
yeah, that's true.
If you time add with prints, it can be really good.
So I actually credit,
like,
I actually credit Queen with the bug here, by the way.
You do? Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting. That's what the highlight was.
So if you watch here,
she just sort of talk and lean. Yeah.
It's just a stop talk, but it ends up looking like it might have been a Twitch bug. And so.
Damn, because I wanted to send one of the two, but I was like, I don't want to send Queen because she's my ST, and if I have to flirt with her again, it makes it more obvious that I was the person who sent her. So maybe if I did send her, it'll work, but I didn't realize you give a bug credit.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard bug credit to know, because like you just don't expect that kind of thing usually, especially at the front of the venue.
That's fair. Yeah, I wanted to just do sort of a normal game and hope the Purloin was well, I was trying to frame Sari, or at least, you know, get it between me and Sari, then have you two sort of shoot between me and Sari on a BB. That was pretty much my plan for this game.
Yeah, and this game doesn't have too many statue visitors. There's a couple, right? But watching their flirts, I'm not too worried about their flirts right now. I think you take direct take, which is interesting. I actually briefly light you here because I'm like, who could it be? Not the person who just took, surely. Oh wait, hold on. Yes, it can be. I'm actually not terribly on top of this, but so it takes me a while to like start narrowing the party based on who couldn't have been. But like, there also hasn't been a contact, and one of the, you know, SDAs is out of conversation. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably still okay here. I don't think it was Salmon or Taft because they joined that conversation so long ago. So there's no one who really could have sent that has a possibility for a BB right now, and it's 20 seconds left. So even though I didn't have a great idea of who could have sent, I did feel okay going into the last couple seconds of this game. And so, like, obviously I don't feel the need to shoot Taft or Salmon, and no one else is in for real. So at this point, I'm just looking for literally any finish, and you go for the bug, but it doesn't quite take quite time. It's pretty funny because you know, the bug does take in time, but you have no flirt done. So
yeah, it's one of those games that sort of needed the time out earlier in the game because ST left me and the DA, you know, was in the conversation. It's just, you know, just one of them. I was sort of hoping there was an SCA or in the conversation with Sari, so it would sort of make it a 50-50, but you know, you can't really force that. So
definitely would have been a bit more difficult had the SDA been more cooperative with you, for sure. I think this next game is fun.
This next game is just, you know, I actually lost to this exact sort of play in a mock set about a year ago, and for like 6 months I was so hyper aware of it, and then no one did it against me, and I just forgot it existed, and I was also annoyed because like you haven't rushed yet. I should be like, this is the sort of play I should be waiting for and expecting here, and I just, you know, completely miss it. So
I actually just had to go for it because I hit the white flirt on this. Like, I was like, oh, you know, hit the white flirt, whatever. We're just gonna go for it. And the main thing that makes me go for this. Oh, I break this animation.
I missed that as well.
Stop breaking animations, Opie. Don't do it. And the main thing that actually makes me want to do this is the fact that there's no one else at bar. So when there's no one else at bar like this, and I take a Purloin over here, you have to rotate literally all the way around to see if list is still there. If you don't see the fate itself, if you miss the fact that Toby didn't pick the list back up, you have to rotate so far to actually see that it's gone, which makes it just that much more difficult to catch this. Of course, then it takes a while, and then General swaps right after you highlight him.
It's funny because like I saw the swap, and I was just like, okay, he was there before him, but I didn't see the fade either, so I was like, okay, could be General, but but there's definitely like no one has flirt, because I was like I was so on top of the flirt pairs this game.
Surely no one has flirt, right? Like no one has.
Yeah,
flirt.
I was so on top of the flirt pairs this game. I was like there's definitely no one has flirt, and then I wasn't even
thinking about Purloin.
There's obviously no one's Purloin, because who would do statues into Purloin? Like that's just not a thing, surely. It just works. Yeah. It's really nice.
This is a fun play to pull out on occasion, just because it's kind of unexpected, and of course it gets the missions done so quickly, and of course that extra bit of it's so hard to see that Purloin's actually gone here.
Yeah. No, I
think Queen being at statues here actually is a huge boon, because you have one more person to watch at statues, so it's it's a play that works every once in a while and is fun to have in the back pocket just in case.
No, it's a good one. I wasn't aware of actually how hard it is to see Purloin's gone in the back like that.
Yeah,
it's actually surprisingly hard.
It is really hard, and it's something like usually you don't notice because Toby goes to someone else and then it kind of reveals itself. But yeah, you can get it. You just have to rotate all the way, and that's one of another big thing is if you can obscure information, unless your opponent like if your opponent has to go really far out of their way to get some piece of information that's critical, I think that's a really good thing for you, because there has to be a really big active decision to go out of their way like that.
Yeah.
This next game on pub is an interesting one from the sniper side, I think. So of course, as anyone does in pub, actually time out immediately here, which I just completely miss. But as anyone does on pub, we're flirt pairing, right? And I see Irish and Plain Twin at this window early on, and I'm pretty sure no one's had. Wait, what? Oh my goodness! I completely. Wait, I completely mixed that up.
Mixed twins again?
No, it's not. It's not that I mixed twins. It's that I mixed what actually happened. No. It wasn't Irish and Twin. It was Twin and Queen. That I'm talking about. So we have Plain Twin. We have Queen, who ends up a parent. Wait. I guess. So this is really weird because this is the first time I've seen this after like the actual game happened, but Queen never actually is at these windows. I thought she was. I had like Twin and Queen paired together, and the fact that Queen actually seemed to leave so quickly, like I thought she had landed at these windows and then left really quickly. So in my head I was like, maybe that was a Plain Twin red flirt on Queen, and then he follows her to her conversation, so it continues. Firm, that looks a lot like a red flirt, and it's not something that I immediately like act on necessarily, but it does have a really big impact later on in this game, and we can honestly kind of skip over the midpoint of this game because it's just like Spy does inspect flirt contact, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And I'm just kind of watching the party, which is pretty normal. But when we get down to this end game, I ended up shooting Twin, and the reason for that is so you're gonna go to statues, highlight for it. You're the only statues there in this game, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
What a choice! Why did I do that?
Low light on Duke for some pathing. Go here, and then eventually there's a contact, which does include Twin and Queen as the as reals, because someone goes over there, so we get contact here, and at this point I do actually consider shooting you. I'm like, do I need to shoot General? I don't think so. And then you start moving, of course, and that's pretty suspicious late in this game. But look who also starts moving. It's Twin. And I'm thinking, surely, okay, this is Twin. I've seen this before. Twin going for the crash bug. And then Twin doesn't go for the crash bug. Instead, stops in this conversation. Next to who? Next to Queen. And then, does he talk? He does start talking very quickly. And if I had trusted myself, I would have been like, I know Twin doesn't have a bug. There's no way he's the overtime shot. I did not trust myself, and I was like, aha, I've caught this very subtle thing, and even though I've missed the bug, I'm going to shoot Twin. But I think if Twin hadn't done that, well, one, you would have had a much more difficult time getting into that conversation because of how that positioning was working out. Two, I probably would have noticed you diving into that conversation and getting your own insta-talk. But so that early like weirdness with Twin and Queen had a really big impact on my kind of like perception of this endgame, and that's kind of what it can come down to sometimes, right? Is just like those, like, it kind of convinced myself that like it was Twin, like I'd missed a bug somewhere, and to some degree, I think that's almost a good thing sometimes, is when you can kind of like convince yourself that you've missed something or figure out something from like scant information, but at the same time it can cause shots like this. So
yeah, I mean, if you see something that sort of verifies what you already think already, then it's just, you know, it's very hard to back out of out of that train of thought if it happens again for like a third time. So, you know.
Yeah, so I was understandable. I was pretty disappointed with having missed shot here. I was like, damn. I mean, I totally get why I did in my head, and it's not like I don't think my logic was terrible, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, it was definitely a shot I could have taken correctly in most of the time, so it felt like a little bit of a waste, but, you know, still ahead in the set, not too bad. Then we get to Redwoods and things start getting scary.
Yeah. The Redwoods games are actually pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to talk about.
So yeah, let's see. This game on Redwoods didn't feel like my best game, but at the same time, it wasn't like really the worst thing. So I get an early flirt. Again, white testing a lot of flirts, and I'm just kind of frustrated with that because I do like to have those two greens, and I typically two green more often than not, but not in this set. Not a bad early start either. A good chunk of people that like different statues and books and things. So yeah, I'm okay with this.
It wasn't. I think the Master was fairly safe. There's quite a lot of people actually like at mission sites, so I had to memorize, I think, 3 or 4 people per line. So, and quite a lot of Brits going down. So it wasn't the best party to snipe from the start, but if I see this chaser windows and whatnot after you already being sort of
oh yeah, this bug
next to Gemel already, yeah, I'm pretty suspect I don't see it. This bug though,
it does flash on screen briefly. Look at that.
It does, yeah, it does, and I was like, I don't know, I thought I saw it, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I wasn't sure, basically.
It's one of those ones that if you're not looking directly at it, it's really difficult to see. I mean, I think that you can credit it, which I do believe you do.
Yeah, it's definitely a credit.
But it's one of those bugs in Redwoods where it's like kind of typical bug. It's kind of, you know, it's not really super surprising, and which can make it kind of weaker. But
usually you sort of want to go with the reverse drive-bys where the ammo where you sort of have more cover and the ammo walks past you rather than what's into you, because if the ammo walks into you, can be much easily more credited for it. So
yeah,
but yeah, I wasn't too sure if you did or not.
So going to finish flirt here, and the double agent in this game is kind of a pain in the ass for multiple reasons. Right now, obviously, she's just not getting into conversation, and I want her to get in conversation because I want to, like, you know, I want to flirt, send this off, contact, be in mission win countdown with this bug, right? And that's kind of how I'm gonna finish this game. But then, so I wait a little while, send this off, and Then the double agent goes to bar, again, not a conversation, but a bar right before the person I send goes to bar and makes it so the purloins come off.
Yeah, and thank you, double agent. Yeah, I out of the credit, I sort of watched what you did, so I wanted to make sure, you know, are they actually doing things that Obi would do in this situation, and I noticed that you entered next to Rocker and that you went to bar, and after you being at bar, so even though the pulling doesn't happen, I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Oprah.
Yeah, that's fair.
And also, like, although I have a lot of highlights, no one is like actually finishing statues or doing much. So I was able to do this, and then the BB split was like, okay, you go and take the list now.
That was exactly what I was doing. I had to do something. But yeah, no, that's a good like allocation of attention thing, right? Is like having that bug suspicion and then just kind of giving enough attention to just kind of recognize that a little bit more of a subtle thing where it's like I'm next to Rocker goes to bar, even though the purloin doesn't come off. You have an opportunity to like find the spy there. So I think that's a really good like example of how information you can gather can like change how you view the rest of the party and then find the spy. So it's a good shot. It's
a bit like what you were in the last game with Twin, except that this information was sort of,
more accurate, more correct.
Yeah, it was accurate, but like, it's if you think you see something as a sniper and then that person does what you would expect them to do afterwards, it's just very confirming in your mind that they are the spy. So
yeah, and definitely works out, especially with with the So this game is a bit crazy for me. So we have Taft over at Blue Books pretty early on, and then we have a couple people at bar, and then we have you and you have Duke going to statues early, and then Bun statues. So there's like a lot going on. And the ambassador's moving and goes to bar, and now I have to watch her bug. So it's a really, really busy early party. And Taft actually walked out of Blue while I'm like watching for these bugs. And then very, very quickly afterwards, while I'm still watching for bugs, while watching. And finally, I've got a little bit more extra time, but now suddenly there's Smallman, by the way. Smallman just shows up kind of at red for me. And there's this little snap that I see here. And the thing is, if I had seen the earlier parts of this like book takeout animation, I probably would have been fine, But by the time that I'm able to really see it, just look at what it looks like, right? It kind of looks like he's just starting to read the book there. Yeah. Which would like indicate a potential cheese, right? So I'm like, oh shit. Okay, Smallman could have done this book cheese. So that's a really big worry in my mind this entire game. And then after I'm done kind of dealing with Smallman, we'll see in a moment Taft go into green, and I never really marked him in my mind after he was at Blue Books. Especially like he's facing away right now, so he could be hiding a book. Oh, another thing Smallman does is he goes to finish statues after having cheesed the book. So just a lot in this early game that makes it very difficult, I think.
Incriminating a little bit AI just because it's Redwoods in a way. Like it happens surprisingly often in the way where you have a guest sort of pop up at a bookcase where you haven't seen them before, but they're either opening a book or they've just been to one bookcase and then they go into another one. You're not sure if they took the book out.
So then I see Taft at green and I'm like, oh, fuck. Now he could have microfilm done and I wouldn't know. I think this bug, I feel like I should be on it more often than I'm, I should be paying more into it than I am. I don't remember I think maybe it was like sorry or something.
I mean, Taft is also finishing statues now as well, so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I was watching Taft, I think, in this moment. So, it's a well-timed bug with regard to Taft.
Yeah. I would have much rather the amber come like right next to me, and so I could like a golden range
standing
bug rather than having to walk away. But I sort of tried to time it with Taft. Maybe watching Swap is what I was thinking, so I'll go with it. And then I go
that is correct, yeah. I was watching Swap.
So I
So bug is clean, very nicely timed bug.
cool. Yeah. And so I sort of wanted to, do the standard sort of finish inspects BB game. I went to bar to get my flirt, which I didn't because Duke left without sipping, which is a bit sad. And I was sort of, the end game here is so messy. It was so messy. I was sort of forced into everything I did. It wasn't really subtle. It was just, I have to flirt here. I have to send that. I have to chase. I have to go and get the BB because the DA was out. It wasn't really how I wanted to finish the game, but
yeah, it helps that there are lots of people that then go into like, Wheels now finishing statues, Bun's now at some statues. So there's like still other people doing things in the end game here. And so when you send this, it's not as obvious as it ends up seeming just because there's so many other things going on in this party. So you get this flirt last second. Double agent joins conversation. You go with the double agent contact, and it does work out. I don't see the purloin happen. If I had seen the purloin happen, no, I still probably can't shoot you in time. But at this point, it's like, thing is, if Smallman has inspects and book, he could have just stood there the entire time and won the game like this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a totally reasonable shot in that situation. If you have like microphone credit and inspects, and you have a BB when the double agent is basically just joined the person you most sort of, then
yeah.
There aren't many people who are not going to shoot Smallman there.
It was a pretty rough party, but the bug was like really well timed. So like some amount of like, damn, this party just sucks for the sniper, and some amount of obviously taking advantage of that is important, because I think you have weaker spies who wouldn't be able to take advantage of that, or do something that is more obvious than the AIs and then get shot for doing that, right?
Yeah.
So still a good game, and at this point, I'm actually a little.
It's tied, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a little spooked. I'm like, damn, it's tied. That's not good. So I get bailed out by this game actually. Yeah.
This game, I was so angry with myself because I caught your cheeky little BB split into thingy.
Yeah. That was like one of the main things I tried to do this game.
But Kane, he was just so weird, but at the same time, sort of, I don't know why I shot Kane, to be honest. So he has far right statue. So he then basically finishes those statues. So I'm like, okay, so Kane has partial inspect still, and nothing else much is happening. Just making sure the ambassador's safe.
So he just finishes inspects immediately.
He then finishes inspects, and I was like, okay. Well, obviously, like he's high threat, but I'm sort of second guessing whether you do that in this particular game of the set. Like I wouldn't rule it out for you in
kind of like in a vacuum.
Yeah, exactly. But like we're just tied up. Would you really do this?
Right.
I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. So I should really be watching the flirt, but I'm just like, we're tied up, and I was just trying to camp as much as I could, really, because I didn't want to sort of throw the game away from being too behavioral and whatnot.
Right.
And then BB happens, and then I sort of see you at statues, and I'm like, that was quick. That was a quick lead. But I saw you go there.
Yeah,
so
my goal was to like either cheese it such that you just didn't see me there at all, or get a low light for like, Samuel was leaving statues and contact just happened, so surely it's a low light. So there were two possible goals there, and neither of them really worked.
If I don't see you go there, then like I probably low light you because
right.
you're out for BB, right? So
yeah.
So I was like pretty certain it's you right now, and then I didn't have like. Then Kane just does this, and I was just like,
oh, I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, he's fully behind the, yep.
And I was like, eh. So I just shot him because he has BB inspects flirt and bug even. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that
I was
felt
so
like
annoyed because I caught it, and I just then that happened. I just and I shot. So I was like,
yeah, got given a bit of luck back on that one for sure. With how Kane was acting, so really when that shot came off, I was like, okay, all right, whew. You know, got a little bit of a gift because I felt like I wasn't in the best spot because I during the game I thought I don't think I got that off right because I felt like your laser over me and it didn't really feel like a low light. So I did feel like I was a little bit lucky there with Kane. So
happens though.
Yeah, that's sometimes what the game comes down to, you know.
And then this one, this game.
I'm going for small and flirter.
No, I was pretty set on doing Prince this game because I don't think I'd finished Prince once in the set.
Right.
It just felt like a Prince game for me, so I was going to do
Prince on bar immediately, but then Taft.
I noticed Taft takes a briefcase, and if you see what Taft is after this, I was like, okay, Taft is is gonna be I'm sort of trying to finish, but I'm gonna make sure Taft finishes as well.
Right.
He does this ridiculous path. I don't know what he was doing there.
he's got to follow the ambassador. He's got the briefcase.
Then he goes straight to bar. I was like, hello.
Yeah. As soon as he does, I should really give him a highlight here. I should give him a highlight here. Oh no, right, he doesn't take.
He didn't get a drink.
Right, he didn't get the drink. I definitely would have highlighted him though if he had taken the drink.
That's so bad. Like, I was like, I just assumed you would get a print at bar. I thought you had a drink. That's just bad. Okay. And I just missed Queen there because then I still think that there's a difficult at bar. I just think Taft has it. I don't know what I'm doing. But okay.
Yeah, Twins.
I'll go for the difficult.
A couple people that I've got to credit with Bug, I think, with Twin and Alice here. So you take get the green print. Works out. You got it.
Yeah.
That's good. I do not recall if I had that at this moment.
My plan here was
I may not have had it.
Maybe. I don't know. But I didn't know, so I wanted to send Queen because it would be like me and Taft sending Queen, so it'd be like a sort of a 50-50 between me and
So
Taft,
like
then
33,
Twin joins.
33.
Then Twin joins, so I was like, okay.
I think you can probably still send if you want that kind of 33, 33, 33, right? It's not that big of a deal. Although Taft does finally pick up a second print here directly after the ambassador, so he gets a highlight.
I think not sending that per line was a mistake. It was definitely a mistake because I have 1 minute.
Like I'm not super likely to not realize to like notice that Twin got in between Taft and Queen. For that send. So if Taft, I think he might, however, have been away from bar too long. And then you have this. This is fun.
Yeah, I wanted to print, and the ambassador wasn't leaving, so I was spamming to get more people to talk, and then would interrupt him, so he'd leave. And
oh yeah, this I.
And he does, and he just goes and stands back in the same place. It's like, okay.
This was like, oh god, Taft, why do you do this to me?
Yeah.
And I'm like, do I need to shoot Taft? And it's so in this moment, it's just like, God, I hated that from Taft so much. The main thing for me was that I figured with Taft, if he had bugged early enough that his idol would start on time, I would have seen his arm, right?
Yeah.
Sticking through, because look at how far it's like through the look how far through he is. So if he were bugging here, you would definitely see the arm sticking through. But if you start it later such that it doesn't stick through, then your idol doesn't start on time, which it does. So I was just barely able to hold on Taft here by saying I don't think that's a bug, but it was so brutal of a decision to have to make in the moment, because it's like Taft has Prince, Taft has like maybe that was a bug, and if that's a bug, I've just lost again, and it's still even. But I did manage to find the hold barely.
And so it's a pretty stressful game as well. This is the third game before the end of the set, so it's a good hold. and then I just I had to
And
crash
then you can tell how like stressed I am in this game by how long it takes me to make this shot. I see you go in, I see that happen. I'm like, look at how like I can't shoot. I finally get it done. It's like everything was trembling in that game. That was a stressful game to snipe.
Yeah. And yeah, I definitely seemed like it. I'm sort of kicking myself. I should have sent that purloin because then.
Yeah, sending the purloin would have been an interesting. Like, I can't tell you exactly how on that purloin I would have been had it been sent. It really would have changed how that game played out in a big way. I think, like, there is a chance I was on it, but also obviously there's a chance I wasn't, and then that game looks a lot different. So now I've got the advantage back, and it's like, oh, okay. Just win some sniper games. We'll see if we can win some spy games on the way and kind of like make it easier. But this game is interesting because we talked about this a little bit, and I kind of want to just zoom to the part that's interesting because there's just I just do a cheese for early on. There's some bar, there's some people at statues, right? And so one of the things I wanted to do here was that there was a good amount of people at bar, and what I find about bar. On Modern in particular, is that as for people who do not highlight for bar, this doesn't work really as well against people like Nebula who highlight for bar. But I know you highlight for statues and they're not highlighting for bar, so I feel like I can kind of utilize this. But when you have the early bar rush, and then like you kind of slip into that mid game, I feel like the retention on bar visitors goes down a lot. In the mid game compared to the early game when there's a bunch of people, right? When you get like 5-6 people at bar early on, you're gonna remember all of those because it's kind of part of your time of chaos routine. Yeah. But when you get to that point where it's like, okay, all of those time of chaos people are dropping off, bar is a little bit less hot. Suddenly you're focused on more other things a lot more often. So I go for this bar, I kind of cheese it away, and I'm like thinking, okay, I want to go contact and send to the double agent, was my idea, because maybe I get credited for not having a reel. It's it's a slight play that you can try to make sometimes. And so I feel pretty good about the idea of purloin here. The main thing is the ambassador kind of joins right on top of me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting a lot of attention right now. And so I actually still go for the contact though. And we talked about this already, but I actually wanted you to be thinking that it might be a BB bug that I was going for, when in reality I'm going for this purloin. And that worked, right?
Yeah, no, when I saw this, I was like, this is such a terrible BB, and Kane is talking, I thought that was like an attempted BB bug, is what I was thinking at this point, yeah. Yeah,
so then I said I purloin, and I thought, maybe I can get away with that, right? In a lot of scenarios. And if the purloin's clean, maybe I can get away with like a swap finish here pretty early.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't blink.
Yeah. So I don't actually see the purloin. So the play itself worked, but I would just like I basically bought the fact that was an attempted BB bug.
Yeah. So you bought it so hard that you were like, surely this has to be the spy, right? Like.
Yeah, and I was and the thing is, like, there was nothing else happening else around the party. Like there was no one doing a BB into book jump or anything. There was no one doing much other stuff. So I was like, the only reason why that BB was so bad was probably because there was an attempted BB bug, and then I was watching you for statues and whatnot, and yeah, there's no blink and no.
So yeah, I guess the so the idea is the idea worked. It just brought me too much attention and suspicion in the end. Yeah. And then of course I do the statue thing here.
If the ambassador doesn't join you there,
rude.
You do?
I do blink.
Can we play from the side by side just quickly?
I mean. Like at that point, it's kind of like one of those earlier games, right, where it's like, you were so convinced it was me, it didn't really matter too much.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
it felt quick, and I was like, I wanted to take a bit of a statement shot as well, because you know, I'm behind and I need to sort of do these sort of things to keep putting the pressure on you in a way. So
Right. And yeah, it worked. I was, you know, oh, fun fact about this game actually. I may have vomited while standing here in conversation.
oh, really?
Yeah. It is. I have really like bad problems with that already, and then anxiety just ratcheted it up, and I was super anxious at this point in the set. Usually that happens before the set. Usually during the games, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, well, we'll clean it up later. We gotta play a game. That was not the most fun thing in the world, but it's a kind of a funny story afterwards.
I don't know.
So I think you can actually see where my camera stops moving for like I think like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
SpyParty is stressful.
This is a stressful game.
SpyParty is stressful. It's a very stressful game. This game though, I had a bit of a plan going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I picked Boots on purpose because I feel like she blends in quite nicely, like with salmon and whatnot. So
Right.
I wanted to microfilm, but like like a point where you wouldn't see it.
Right.
So you know, so I sort of blend in and get a free microfilm. And I noticed the bar was fairly active, so I was like, okay, microfilm Purloin might work here. And also, like I knew that Brand was after this, and I was like, this is probably the best chance I have of a Spy win to tie it up. So I was sort of, I don't want to say stressed, but I was really hoping that the display would work.
Yeah, it's
but,
high stakes.
Yeah, it ended up not doing me because of my timing with the Purloin, but the 2-foot there would have been nice, but
Yeah, 2-foot's
like,
always, of course.
if I do 2-foot there, I can sort of pick who I send better, but because I don't, I sort of have to chase my ST so I can finish early and whatnot on time. It's a bit annoying, but
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah, take the delegate. I was looking at where my SC and the DA was, so the DA ends up in that conversation. So I was initially going to go and BB send, but then I was like, okay, the SC's coming to me over here, so I'll just chase the ST.
Yeah. So you're MX2 and SDA here. This game, I ended up using a couple more speculative lights than I usually do. I had like ice and flirt lights. I had I forget exactly what Duke was for. Maybe he's just full inspects. I think he's just full inspects. But yeah, you delegate to the SDA here. What you don't know is the SDA. I take it.
Yeah, I was hoping as well that, you know, tap is quick, so this is definitely going to take. And then I was like,
didn't take, yeah.
People at the bar. I was like, So I go into green here. I was going to put it in blue after the Purloin took, so hopefully you just miss it because you've just seen the Purloin. So it's sort of like in the wake of the Purloin sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take, and I was like, well, do I still do it? And I just basically just.
I think it's actually reasonable here.
Yeah,
so if we look
it
at
is.
this party, you know, Ambassador's not really in danger, admittedly, but the main thing to note about this party for me, in terms of evaluating this, is that the foreground of this party is pretty clumpy, pretty busy, even if it's just people in conversations, and just there's something about that visually that can really mess with a sniper's ability to see things in the background that might otherwise be pertinent. So I think I might have, I probably would have taken it here because it's, I actually think it's a timing. Obviously you would hope for the Ambassador to be in more trouble.
Yeah. That was sort of what I was basing it off of, which is not, you know, it's not always a thing to be watching when you're trying to do something that you're trying to.
Yeah, I think it's too. I think it's too limiting to base what you do only around the threat on the Ambassador. Of course, it's pretty much always better if the Ambassador is in danger. But if you're only ever doing things when the Ambassador is in danger, you lose a lot of the ability to take advantage of like certain textures like this one. So I think it would have been a pretty, like, you know, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't have caught it at all, but like, I feel like this is a better opportunity than it looks given the activity of the party.
It's certainly what I should have done based on, you know, how long I had left and whatnot. what
Right,
else I
yeah,
could have
with
done. Because
yeah, I do agree with like with this amount of time in the party, right? You know, and with only flirt done and the delegate having expired, it can be a little tough to find other better opportunities than that one. So
yeah, because like at this one, I don't think I can really start doing prints and whatnot. So like I don't know, I don't have many options at this point. So I go in to take a second delegate, and I'm like, well, I don't really know how I finish. So I'm definitely not taking the drink even if I do get the delegate. So I sort of cheese it away.
yeah, general moves, which
Um,
actually general would have been a good person to delegate to. So it's a bit
yeah,
unfortunate for you.
I didn't know that General was sus, but I was,
He was like
I
flirting
thought
with Twin
was
frequently,
he
but
okay?
he wasn't doing much else, admittedly. But like, he was one of people I was paying a little bit more attention to because of that fact.
So yeah, at this point I was just like, well, I'm gonna send him BB, and then I was hoping that I would get low lit for the split and make it a really good split and make it really convincing, but then I hit the white and it just
Yeah, the cough.
yeah, yikes.
I didn't see this,
Mhm.
but I knew who didn't do it. Right? It's kind of almost more important when you're
Yeah,
dealing with coughs is you have to be confident in who didn't do it and not be low-letting people for having the potential cough. So I did manage to do that accurately. Like, I probably could have gotten a couple of lights on the people in the front, but my eyes weren't on them directly. So I just was playing it very, very safe about like done it. And at this
yeah.
point,
It's just
I do see the pearl and I'm like, but obviously a cough is not a actual contact. It wasn't a red test. It's just a bail, which is a big problem for you. So
yeah,
I can just kind of hold, and even though I'm not at all sure about this purloin, I'm pretty sure like general and plain twin didn't do it. Like the people in this conversation didn't really have anything to do with it. I was pretty sure at this point. I didn't really know who did, but I wasn't too worried about actually having to shoot anybody at this point, just because like no contact and no
yeah,
one else really had anything.
yeah. You just had the good mission count, really. Yeah, it's certainly tough to shoot anyone on Modem without a BB happening. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, no, that's good. I just ran out of time, which is really annoying because I was like, okay, I'm going to go into veranda here where I need to win a spy, which is like, well, it's not really what position you want to go into. So
Yeah, but I
I
do
was sort of
think
regretting
actually,
picking it.
if you had
Yeah,
gotten away with a cheese microfilm there, I think that you win that game a lot of the time because you don't have to bother trying to like bail on the
yeah,
contact. You can just do a white contact and like purling comes off and like you weren't really a high suspect. So I think if you know contingent on getting away with that microfilm,
mhm,
that's a really good way of potentially winning that game.
yeah. It could have been good, but didn't take the chance, which is unfortunate for me.
So this game is interesting. I mean, well, it's not actually that interesting. I just shot for a white microfilm, but I do start kind of. 1 second.
It's all right.
Sorry about that. Back.
It's all good.
Yeah. So this game, I did like the microfilm start, and I liked the idea of going for the second microfilm because you are so far on the other side in this game.
Yep.
But hitting white test microfilms makes things hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew you were at green. So I was like, okay. I wasn't watching you did in my film there, but I was like, okay, we're at green.
And then
The
yeah,
time ad, just weirdly, I actually caught this time ad, which is
oh, okay.
rare for me, to be honest. On veranda anyway, at least.
So I get this flirt. Like, I mean, I had to do this time because I felt like I was really low on time already.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
solo game.
yeah, it's fair.
And then so I noticed that you're way over there, and then yeah, I just do a white.
Yeah,
I think the rotation is just a little too slow if I get a green here, just barely.
yeah,
Especially because like you don't have the head turns nearly as much. It's much less
yeah.
obvious. So I think I can get away with this, but maybe credited still. If I hit a green.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of baiting it anyway. To be honest, I was pretty sure you time it. So even if I didn't see it, I was like,
I
yeah, you
gotcha.
probably greened it.
All
Yeah.
right, so it was actually the time man. Ooh. I mean, yeah.
It was just one of those things that I just happened to catch it. I wasn't looking for it, so you know.
I didn't feel like this was my best time ad like location. But I didn't know if I could do anything better because like Toby and Ambassador on the other side of the venue, but I don't really like these windows for time ad almost at all, like this particular window, because it just feels so visually distinct from the rest of the party, so it's a little bit more noticeable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd actually have maybe preferred to do it like out in front almost, just because like there's just a little more clumping in the eyes of the sniper that can make it kind of fade in terms of attention.
Yeah.
So
I think like for me, you only really want to time out there. There's also people at windows in front of you compared to the sniper, so you have at least a bit more cover.
right.
Yeah.
I think make a bold claim. I actually think that if this is a much better time ad if Ambassador is like in the area, almost.
Yeah, that's fair because you know, like watching Bug on Miranda is annoying.
It's a whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's annoying. It really is annoying. But there are so many conversations that are always so ridiculously full. So, yeah, I could definitely get on board with that opinion.
And then the last game of the set.
Last game is. Oh my goodness! I'm never picking wheels here again. I swear to God.
This is a game where the DA screws you over pretty hard.
I don't think I'm winning anyway, but just because it happened in this particular game of the set, well, I need to win it. Whatever. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting away with it, even with the BB, but still. I wanted to do sort of like a soft tail game. And really make you not want to shoot me for finishing soft tails,
right?
And with like either book or microfilm, and that sort of relied on getting some difficult prints, which I unfortunately missed.
Yeah, that makes it a lot more difficult. I think I did have you. I had you highlight for going for the difficult print on that statue, I believe, just because it is something I infrequently highlight for, is like these prints that seem a little bit more spy-like than other prints. That kind of thing where I you know, I'm trying to like.
It makes sense. Like a spy will, like a you know, an experienced spy will want to go for prints that are more subtle than like obvious prints. So highlighting for those sort of more subtle prints makes more sense.
Yeah. Plus, you got a statue, and it's like.
Yeah. Just a lot of progress at once.
This party wasn't too bad in terms of managing it, I don't believe. Like, I've seen much worse veranda parties overall. It wasn't, like, super quiet, but I did feel like I had a pretty decent grasp on it. Ironically, I got more worried after the cough.
Yeah. I actually sort of banked on that a little bit, because the cough was sort of... It was intentional, but it was like... I'm just trying to distract you as much as possible, because I know this is like... This is the last game of the set. You had so much pressure on you to win it. So it was sort of... I would never do this in any other game of the set intentionally. So
right. Oh, so the cough was intentional. Okay.
It was intentional, yeah.
Okay, that's a, like, I didn't realize the cough was intentional. But like it does kind of have the desired effect. Like, obviously a cough is a very dangerous play to make, because it's not really much info, plus it's not progress, plus it's giving out a lot of information, right? Theoretically. Yeah. But
when it comes to it, it'll make a bit more sense why. So at this point, I was like, I need a time ad, because I have partial inspects and blood done. I wanted to purloin here because I feel like I had some decent cover, but I couldn't because the door. I was too close to the door. I was really annoyed about that.
What I sometimes do here is I'll twitch forward in conversation, and usually that can go unnoticed if you're just kind of innocently in a conversation, and you can call Toby over after that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I should really have thought about that. Not Twitch. So yeah, I'm
so I
sort of
noticed that there was a time ad like after this is like it's far enough after your visit to Windows that I'm not sure who did it, but I do look up and I'm like, huh, that looks like a very green clock. I feel like it shouldn't have that much green in it at this point in the game.
Yeah. Okay, so you're sort of on the time ad.
Vaguely,
And then at this point, I'm sort of wanting the DA to go in conversation. I'm getting a bit frustrated that he's just not doing much. I wanted to like sort of BB Purloin insert swap sort of something like that. So I just decided to fake contact into Purloin instead.
Yeah.
I green it, and then I really want a chain to happen because if a chain doesn't happen, then I probably just die anyway.
Right.
Or at least like I'm like top source without, and I've still got so much to do. So I decided to cough because Rocker was taking it next, and by coughing it might make me miss a Purloin more.
I definitely didn't have an amazing grasp. I actually Smallman is finishing statues here.
Oh wow!
So I was ready to. Okay. I was like ready to have to watch for a swap, and even here, look at this. He kind of.
He's delaying it.
He kind of looked like he's delaying it. Like he'd actually need to be further to the right to be delaying it actively. Yeah. But it does look like he might be going there to try to delay it, and you know, knowing exact like distances, especially when you're playing sniper, can be very, very difficult. So it does look like it's possible that he could be close enough to be delaying it here. And I'm like, this could be Smallman. And so that's like one of the things I'm really, really worried about in this endgame. I'm not really thinking about you very much. The problem is the party's so narrowed from the cough, and then like you just don't have enough time to get things done right. Like even if you inspect swap for Smallman, because Wheels is being such an asshole.
There's still no overtime, right? So
yeah, and then at this point, you know, timer goes to 0-0-0. I basically know it's not a swap at this point because I hear the timer slow down briefly before the end of before it goes to 0-0. So I know it's got to be a time ad, so it's like down to like 3. And at this point, it's ridiculously difficult to win. There's basically no way to win at this point.
I'm sort of resigned to failure, but they're saying you gotta keep trying something at least. So I'm gonna go insert swap here and then hope. Maybe that
it's actually funny. Rocker is the one that was going to go swap for you.
Really? Oh my goodness! No way.
Yeah. Look at this. So Rocker. So you put this back down. If you had, you know, the pending and you had the contacts ready to go, right? And you had, you know, Wheels wasn't being such a dick. I see you. So that's why you did that path.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, why did Oprah just do that path? And then, but you had to like make sure Wheels went to a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. But like when you did that, it was like, okay, I think this is Oprah.
Yeah.
And like, obviously you had to, because otherwise you're just never finishing. Which unfortunately you're not able to anyway, because Wheels just walks too far away, and just does not. But like,
it's unbelievable.
But yeah, Rocker is the one who's about to swap for you. Of course, I'm staring the fade down. So I think it's still.
I died anyway.
I think it's still a loss, but like, it was.
It's just one of those ridiculous games.
Yeah. Really. It was a very stressful game. That cough really. Like, I don't know what it is, like, because even though I got so much like many lowlights out of the cough, like it's still so like in your head is like ramps up the pressure, especially in the last game of the set.
I would say it's unnerving. It's like it's one of the things that because you haven't seen it happen, you don't know who it is. It's just something in your mind just don't like it.
It's also like, what if I look at the spy? What if I'm losing to a cough game?
yeah. It's like those sort of questions that you just don't want to know.
Especially when the purloin comes off and it's like, oh shit, I did not see who did that.
I think it was a pretty entertaining set.
Yeah, that was a fun set. That was a very, very intense set. Some luck in some of those games, like that Redwoods game with Kane. Thank you, Kane.
Yeah.
But yeah, really.
The thing is about SpyParty is that it's a lot about understanding about when you can take advantage of the lock, because sometimes who's suspicious, or
sometimes knowing when you're getting unlucky and doing the best possible thing to give you the most chance, right? Even through being unlucky is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
because it's incredibly hard at times to force through spy games against really good snipers. If you just like forcing through a walking board, going into center inspects, and being like,
right,
a lot of the top level snipers are just
going to shoot at you for that.
Yeah, I have to be so subtle about it when you're playing someone who's so skillful. So,
Yeah, no,
but
that
yeah,
was a crazy set. It was a good one.
that's a good one.
I hope the finals are as good, and I
Yes,
hope I
I hope
also
so
win the
too.
finals.
Yeah. Anyways, that was fun. But
Yeah,
and best of luck in the finals.
thanks. There
Yeah,
should be broadcast this weekend.
cool.
I heard you played the third place already, and I'm not gonna ask for any spoilers, but
Yeah,
I'm
no,
also
it's being played. Yeah, it'll
I
be.
I am to watch that when that goes up.
Yeah,
Should be a good one as well.
it'll take some because I feel like my game with Nebula as well was also pretty good. So it'll take some beating it. The well the group stage match will take some beating in terms
Yeah,
of
yeah. To
the first match.
I mean, if we can get a match the quality of the group stage match that you two had, it'll be a treat for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Okie doke.
thanks for doing
Yeah.
this. It's been a lot of fun.
No, it was fun. Yeah. What, 2 hours of talking about SpyParty?
Yeah, I'm always down. Yeah, more talking about SpyParty. Let's go.
Cool.
I'm actually gonna probably put together like a written thing, just for like things that I've been like theorizing about on Spy that I don't think anyone else has really like come up with before. At least not consciously. Like I think that there are people who like intuitively understand some of the things that I'm thinking that I've been like coming
Yeah.
up with, but
Never actually
it's
expressed it. Yeah.
like never actually expressed it, and I think that'll be
Yeah.
very, very interesting to see what people think of that and if people start implementing that kind of thing.
Cool. Sounds good.
So that'll be after SMC though, because I need to keep my secrets for the finals.
Surprised Minnie hasn't been watching this.
I'm pretty sure Minnie's been in chat on occasion.
Has he been?
Was early on at the very least.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Alrighty.
All right,
Cool.
GG's.
Anyways,
See,
that was good.
yeah. See you around.
Cool. I'll see you soon.
All right, and that's us done. Minnie left early. How dare Minnie? Giving him free research. Thanks everyone for watching. This was a fun stream. Very interesting stuff. And I love talking about SpyParty, especially with other high-level players like Rov. Rov is great. And I'm really nervous for the finals. I'm hoping I can just play well. If I can win, that's great. But it's it. Excuse me, very nerve-wracking. So yeah, see you guys next time. Watch me in the finals. Should be fun.